Zoe and Jikar grow closer as she nurses him back to health. Rebel Zephyrian forces track Jikar to Earth, threatening them both. Zoe must use her linguistic skills to negotiate a peaceful resolution. Part 4. A Royal Revelation. Jikar confesses his true royal identity to Zoe. The rebel leader, Commander Vox, confronts them and demands Jikar's surrender. Zoe bravely stands up to Vox, impressing Jikar with her strength and compassion. Part 5. Destiny Among the Cosmos. Zoe's act of courage inspires Jikar to end the conflict diplomatically. With the help of Earth mediators, a truce is reached between Jikar and the rebels. Jikar invites Zoe to return with him to Zephyria as an ambassador. Zoe accepts, ready to embrace an extraordinary new life among the stars. Here is part 1 of the story. Part 1. An Unusual Birthday Wish. Zoe Adams sat cross-legged on the porch of her cozy cabin, gazing up at the star-strewn night sky. It was a view she never tired of, especially on clear nights like this, when the heavens seemed to stretch out endlessly before her. She lifted her mug of steaming chamomile tea and inhaled deeply, savoring the fragrant aroma. "Here's to another trip around the sun," she said softly to herself. "Happy 30th birthday, Zoe." As an introvert who preferred the company of books to people, Zoe had chosen to spend her milestone birthday in solitude at her remote cabin in the Cascade Mountains. It was a place of tranquility and reflection, where she could indulge her greatest passions: reading, writing, and studying the intricacies of language, both human and alien. Zoe's fascination with xenolinguistics had begun at a young age, fueled by her insatiable curiosity about the possibility of life beyond Earth. While other little girls dreamed of becoming princesses or pop stars, young Zoe fantasized about making first contact and deciphering extraterrestrial languages. Now, as a respected xenolinguist with multiple degrees and published papers to her name, Zoe had achieved her childhood dreams, at least in theory. In reality, the search for alien life had thus far proven fruitless, much to her disappointment. But Zoe remained undeterred, pouring her enthusiasm into analyzing radio signals from deep space and theorizing about the linguistic structures of potential alien civilizations. Lost in thought, Zoe almost didn't notice the brilliant streak of light that suddenly cut across the sky. Blinking in surprise, she sat up straighter, her heart racing with excitement. A meteor? No, it was moving too slowly, and it seemed to be changing direction. Zoe leaped to her feet, nearly spilling her tea in the process. She squinted at the glowing object as it descended towards the horizon, leaving a trail of shimmering stardust in its wake. It was like nothing she had ever seen before, too controlled to be a natural phenomenon, yet too ethereal to be human-made. An absurd thought crossed her mind, one that made her laugh out loud despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Wouldn't it be crazy if that was a spaceship? She mused, shaking her head at her own flight of fancy. An alien crash landing on my 30th birthday. Some present that would be. No sooner had the words left her mouth than the object seemed to wobble and veer sharply downwards, as if in response to her idle wish. Zoe watched in disbelief as it hurtled towards the dense forest just a few miles from her cabin, its glow intensifying until it was almost blinding. A moment later, a thunderous boom echoed through the mountains, shaking the ground beneath Zoe's feet. A plume of smoke rose from the trees in the distance, marking the spot where the mysterious object had apparently crashed. For a long moment, Zoe stood frozen, her mind reeling with the implications of what she had just witnessed. Had her wild birthday wish actually come true? Was there really an alien spacecraft lurking in the woods, just waiting to be discovered? Common sense told her to call the authorities, to let trained professionals handle something of this magnitude. But another part of her, the part that had dreamed of this moment her entire life, knew that she couldn't pass up this opportunity. If there was even the slightest chance that this was humanity's first encounter with extraterrestrial life, Zoe had to be the one to make contact. With trembling hands, she set down her mug and rushed back into the cabin to gather supplies. She had no idea what she might be walking into, but one thing was certain. Her 30th birthday had just taken an extraordinary and unexpected turn. Little did Zoe know, as she set off into the night with a backpack full of equipment and a heart full of wonder, that she was about to embark on the greatest adventure of her life, one that would challenge everything she thought she knew about the universe and about herself. For deep in the forest, an alien prince named Jikar lay injured and alone, his fate now inextricably tied to the human woman who had unwittingly wished him into her world. And so begins our story, dear reader, on a starlit night brimming with mystery and possibility. A story of two souls from different worlds, brought together by chance, or perhaps by destiny. A story that will span galaxies and change lives, all set in motion by an unusual birthday wish. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we must follow Zoe into the unknown as she braves the wilderness in search of answers. What will she find at the crash site? How will she communicate with a being from another world? And what secrets is the enigmatic Prince Jikar hiding? The acrid scent of burnt metal and charred vegetation assaulted Zoe's nostrils as she approached the crash site. Smoke curled up from the twisted wreckage of a small spacecraft, its sleek silver exterior now marred by dents and scorch marks. Heart pounding, Zoe edged closer, scanning the area for any signs of life. Suddenly, a faint groan caught her attention. There, lying amidst the debris, was a humanoid figure clad in a tattered flight suit. Zoe rushed over and knelt beside the injured alien. Up close, she could see that his skin was a pale lavender hue, his features both strikingly human and subtly foreign. As she reached out to check his pulse, his eyes fluttered open, revealing irises of swirling silver. "Don't be afraid," Zoe said softly, hoping her tone would convey her peaceful intentions, even if he couldn't understand her words. "I'm here to help." To her surprise, the alien responded in halting but recognizable English. "I am Prince Jikar of Zephyria. My ship, attacked, fled to nearest habitable planet." Zoe's mind raced with 1,000 questions, but she forced herself to focus on the immediate situation. "You're badly hurt. I need to get you somewhere safe." Ignoring Jikar's weak protests, Zoe half-carried, half-dragged him back to her cabin. As she tended to his injuries, the prince recounted his harrowing escape from a violent coup on his home world. Despite the language barrier and the strangeness of the circumstances, Zoe found herself drawn to Jikar's quiet strength and nobility. And as the long night wore on, a tentative bond began to form between the human woman and the alien prince, two lost souls who had found each other across the vast expanse of space. But little did they know, their troubles were only just beginning. For even as Zoe worked to keep Jikar hidden from the authorities, rebel Zephyrian forces were already tracking their missing prince to Earth, intent on finishing what they had started. As dawn broke over the misty mountains, Zoe and Jikar huddled together in the cozy cabin, exhausted but relieved. The alien prince's wounds had been bandaged, and he was resting comfortably on the sofa, his indigo blood staining the makeshift dressings. Zoe watched him sleep, marveling at the surreal turn her life had taken. In the span of a single night, she had gone from celebrating a quiet birthday alone to harboring a fugitive extraterrestrial royal. It was like something out of the science fiction novels she had devoured as a kid, except this was real life, with real dangers lurking just beyond her doorstep. Jikar stirred and opened his eyes, blinking in the soft morning light. "I owe you my life, Zoe Adams," he said solemnly. "On my world, such a debt is not taken lightly." Zoe waved away his gratitude, though a part of her thrilled at the formal way he spoke her name. "I'm just glad I found you in time. But we need to figure out what happens next." Jikar's silver eyes darkened. "My enemies will not rest until they have captured or killed me. By helping me, you have put yourself in grave danger." Zoe's heart skipped a beat at the thought of alien rebels descending on her quiet corner of the world, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Then we'll face that danger together. I'm not going to abandon you, Jikar." Over the next few days, as Chukar recuperated and Zo tended to him, a powerful bond blossomed between the human and the alien. Chukar taught Zo about his homeworld of Zephyria, with its soaring crystal cities and ancient traditions of honor and duty. In turn, Zo shared with him the wonders and the struggles of life on Earth, from the beauty of a sunrise over the mountains to the lonely years she had spent burying herself in books and research. As they talked and laughed and learned from each other, Zo and Chukar began to realize that perhaps they were not so different after all. Two souls who had always felt out of place in their own worlds had finally found a kindred spirit in each other. But their idyllic interlude could not last forever. One evening, as Zo was returning from a supply run in the nearby town, she spotted a group of unfamiliar figures lurking near the trailhead to her cabin. They were tall and lean, with lavender skin and silver eyes that glinted coldly in the fading light. Rebel Zephyrians, come to hunt down their renegade prince. Zo's blood ran cold as the implications sank in. The rebels had tracked Chukar to Earth, and now they were closing in on their prey. She couldn't let them find him, couldn't bear the thought of losing him to the cruel fate that awaited him back on Zephyria. Thinking quickly, Zo circled around through the dense woods, her heart pounding as she raced back to the cabin by a hidden route. She burst through the door, startling Chukar from his meditations. "They're here," she gasped out, her voice shaking with fear and adrenaline. "The rebels, they found us." Chukar's face hardened into a mask of grim determination. He reached for his plasma blaster, but Zo stopped him with a gentle hand on his arm. "No more fighting," she pleaded. "We have to find another way." And so, as the rebel soldiers closed in on the cabin, Zo and Chukar hatched a desperate plan. Zo, with her brilliant mind and her gift for language, would attempt to negotiate a peaceful resolution with the Zephyrians. She would use every ounce of her linguistic skill and her empathetic nature to find common ground and broker a truce between Chukar and his enemies. It was a daring gambit, one that could easily cost Zo her life if she failed. But she knew in her heart that it was the only way forward. She could not stand by and watch Chukar be dragged back to a world of violence and oppression, not when there was even the slightest chance of a better path. As the tense negotiations unfolded, with the fate of two worlds hanging in the balance, Zo found herself drawing on reserves of strength and courage she never knew she possessed. She stood tall in the face of the rebel commander's threats and ultimatums, her voice steady and her gaze unwavering. And through it all, Chukar stood by her side, his presence a silent bulwark of support and admiration. In Zo's brave stand against tyranny and bloodshed, he saw a glimmer of hope for his own war-torn planet. Perhaps with someone like her leading the way, Zephyria could find a new path forward, one of peace and understanding. But even as Zo fought for that bright future with every fiber of her being, a shocking revelation threatened to unravel everything. For Chukar had not told her the whole truth about his identity or his past, and those secrets were about to come crashing down around them both. What would happen when Zo learned the full extent of Chukar's royal heritage and the weight of the destiny that had been thrust upon him? Would their bond be strong enough to weather the storm of betrayal and deception? The answers lay ahead in Part 4, A Royal Revelation, as our star-crossed heroes fought for their lives, their love, and the fate of two civilizations on the brink of war. As the tense negotiations with the rebel Zephyrians dragged on, Zo could sense that Chukar was holding something back. His silver eyes kept darting away from hers, and his answers to her questions became increasingly evasive. Finally, she confronted him in a moment of privacy, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and frustration. "Chukar, what aren't you telling me? I can't help you if you don't trust me with the truth." The alien prince sighed heavily, his shoulders slumping under the weight of his secrets. "I've been selfish, Zo. I wanted to protect you from the full scope of my troubles, but in doing so, I've put you in even greater danger." With a deep breath, Chukar revealed his true identity. Not just a prince, but the sole heir to the Zephyrian throne. The rebels, he explained, were not merely disgruntled insurgents, but a powerful faction led by his own uncle, Commander Vox, who sought to seize power for himself. I am the last obstacle standing between Vox and total control of Zephyria, Chikar said grimly. He will stop at nothing to eliminate me and claim the crown. Zoe reeled from the revelation, her mind spinning with the implications. Suddenly, the stakes of their struggle seemed impossibly high, the fate of an entire world resting on their shoulders. But even as she grappled with the weight of Jikar's royal destiny, Zoe realized that her feelings for him had only grown stronger. He was more than a prince to her now. He was the brave, kind, honorable man she had come to know and love. Squaring her shoulders, Zoe met Jikar's gaze with determination. No more secrets, she said firmly. We're in this together, no matter what comes. Together, Zoe and Jikar faced down Commander Vox and his rebel forces, armed only with their wits, their courage, and the unshakable bond between them. Zoe used every scrap of her linguistic prowess to keep the negotiations on track, while Jikar leveraged his royal authority to offer Vox a path to peace. In the end, it was Zoe's impassioned plea for unity and forgiveness that turned the tide. She spoke of the horrors of war, the toll of violence and vengeance, and the power of mercy and reconciliation. Her words struck a chord in the hearts of the rebel soldiers, who had seen too much bloodshed and suffering in their lifetimes. Moved by Zoe's appeal, Commander Vox finally agreed to lay down his arms and work towards a peaceful resolution. It was a fragile truce, but it was a start, a glimmer of hope for a brighter future on Zephyria. As the rebel ships departed Earth, leaving Jikar to recover and plan his return to his homeworld, Zoe found herself at a crossroads. She had fought so hard for peace, but now that it was within reach, she realized that her heart was torn in two. Could she really say goodbye to Jikar, the man who had changed her life so profoundly? Could she go back to her quiet existence on Earth, knowing that a whole universe of wonders and challenges awaited her beyond the stars? Jikar, sensing her inner turmoil, took her hands in his and gazed into her eyes with a look of pure love and gratitude. Zoe Adams, he said softly, you have saved my life, my world, and my soul. I owe you a debt that can never be repaid. He took a deep breath, his voice growing stronger with conviction. Come with me to Zephyria. Be my queen, my partner, my guiding light. Help me rebuild my world and forge a new era of peace and prosperity for my people. Zoe's heart leaped at the invitation, even as her mind reeled with the enormity of the decision. To leave behind everything she had ever known, to embark on a journey across the stars with the man she loved. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. But in that moment, gazing into Jikar's silver eyes, Zoe knew that there was only one choice she could make. Her destiny lay with him, among the stars, in a future full of infinite possibility. With tears of joy in her eyes, she nodded and whispered the words that would change her life forever. Yes, my prince, I will go with you to the ends of the universe and beyond. And so, as the sun set over the mountains that had been her home for so long, Zoe Adams stepped hand in hand with her alien prince into a waiting spacecraft, ready to embrace her extraordinary new life as the future queen of Zephyria. Though the challenges ahead would be great and the uncertainties many, Zoe knew that with Jikar by her side, she could face anything. Together, they would build a world of harmony and hope, a shining beacon of unity in a cosmos too often torn apart by conflict and strife. As the spacecraft lifted off towards the heavens, carrying the human woman and her alien love towards the distant stars of Zephyria, Zoe closed her eyes and smiled. She had started this journey with a simple birthday wish, never dreaming that it would lead her to the greatest adventure of her life. But then again, fate worked in mysterious ways. And as Zoe Adams had learned, sometimes the most extraordinary things happened when you least expected them. Like falling in love with a prince from the stars. Zoe gazed out the viewport of the sleek Zephyrian spacecraft as it hurtled through the glittering expanse of space. Beside her, Jikar input coordinates into the navigation system, his handsome features illuminated by the soft glow of holographic controls. "Are you ready, my love?" he asked, turning to her with a smile that still made her heart flutter. "Zephyria awaits its future queen." Zoe took a deep breath, feeling a thrill of excitement and trepidation. "As ready as I'll ever be. It's just, I never imagined my life would take this path. A few weeks ago, I was just a lonely xenolinguist, dreaming of the stars. And now you hold the fate of worlds in your hands." Jakar finished, taking her hand in his. "But I have faith in you, Zoe. You have a rare gift, not just for language, but for understanding, for bringing people together. It's what saved me, and it's what will save Zephyria." As the ship descended through layers of rosy clouds into the shimmering atmosphere of Jakar's homeworld, Zoe marveled at the alien beauty sprawling before her. Soaring crystalline spires pierced the sky, glittering in the light of a lavender sun. Silvery vehicles zipped through the air, weaving between the towers like gleaming minnows. But as they drew closer, Zoe could see the scars of war marring the stunning cityscape. Blackened ruins and jagged craters spoke of the devastating conflict that had torn Zephyria apart, pitting brother against brother in a struggle for power. A delegation of Zephyrian officials awaited them as they disembarked, their faces a mix of hope, curiosity, and trepidation. Zoe steeled herself, drawing on every ounce of confidence and poise she possessed. Over the next days and weeks, she threw herself into the monumental task of rebuilding a shattered world. With Jakar by her side, she met with leaders from every faction, listening to their grievances, their hopes, and their fears. She used her gift for language to bridge gaps and heal wounds, forging fragile connections across battle lines. It was grueling, often thankless work, but Zoe poured her heart and soul into it. She knew that this was her destiny, the reason she had been brought to this extraordinary place and time. And slowly but surely, Zephyria began to heal. Under Jakar and Zoe's compassionate leadership, the planet embarked on a new era of unity and cooperation. The rebel forces, once so full of rage and resentment, laid down their arms and joined in the effort to rebuild, brick by brick and bond by bond. Through it all, Zoe and Jakar's love only grew stronger, tempered by shared struggles and triumphs. They ruled side by side as equals, two halves of a whole, their strengths complementing and balancing each other. And when at last the time came for their formal coronation, the entire planet rejoiced. Zoe Adams, once a humble earthling, now stood tall and radiant as the Queen of Zephyria, her alien king at her side. As the cheers of the crowd washed over them, Jakar leaned in close and whispered, "I love you, my brave, brilliant star maiden. Thank you for being my guiding light." Zoe smiled through tears of joy, her heart full to bursting. "And thank you, my prince, for being my home, my adventure, my everything. Together, we'll make the universe a brighter place." And hand in hand, the king and queen of Zephyria turned to face their people, ready to lead them forward into a shining future forged by courage, compassion, and an unyielding belief in the power of love to conquer all. It was a fitting end to a story that had begun with a single wish on a starlit night, or perhaps it was just the beginning of an even greater tale waiting to unfold among the infinite wonders of the cosmos. For Zoe Adams and Jakar of Zephyria, anything was possible, as long as they had each other and the boundless reaches of space to explore. And so our story ends as it began, with two hearts full of hope and eyes turned towards the stars, ready for whatever destiny has in store. The end.